Okay, so this video will revolve around the two historical fiction books, My Brother Sam is Dead and Johnny Tremain, where we are going to look in depth to see how real life factors like the Parliament and Washington play into the role of both books. Before we do so, we need to know what side the people we are reading is supporting. There are actually three types of people during the Revolutionary War. Don't know much about history. These are the type of people during the Revolutionary War: patriots, neutralists, loyalists, and Tories. So you may be asking, what does all of these words mean? Well, I'm going to give you a definition for each one of these words. Patriot is a person who supported the cause to be away from British rule and fight the English so-called lobsterback for independence. Neutralist is a person who supported neither side during the Revolutionary War, almost like a pacifist. Now we move on to the loyalist and Tory, which both of the words has the same meaning, an individual who remained loyal to the British during the war. It is the side that gets the most hate from the patriot, their own people themselves. Now that we know about the side people took, what side does the protagonist of each book took during the Revolutionary War they faced? Don't know much biology. This is where I like to introduce you to a little game I like to call What Side Does Each One Support? Okay, I will give you a series of 3 clues that will help you lead to your conclusion of which side they are on. Let's start with Timothy Meeker from My Brother Sam is Dead. When the British had all the things in the house, they set the house on fire. I turned and ran down the road toward Dr. Hobart's. I didn't feel much like being a Tory anymore. Well, I don't know, I said. The way Sam explained it, it sounds right to be a rebel. And when Father explains it, it sounds right to be a loyalist. It seems to me that everybody was to blame, and I decided that I wasn't going to be anybody's side anymore. Neither one of them was right. The conclusion you should make with Timothy is that he's a neutralist. Timothy in the book started out as a Tory because he lived in a Tory place, but after he see what both sides does to each other and harm his family, he knew that neither side was right and remained a neutralist in the war. Now it's time for the title character in Johnny Tremain. Johnny committed civil disobedience by participating in the Boston Tea Party. Johnny worked for the Boston Observer, delivering Patriot newspaper and letter with his horse. Johnny participated in meeting with the Son of Liberty and Patriot leader, and it was a frequent thing for him. These 3 clues should probably lead you to a conclusion that Johnny is a patriot, obviously, since he supported for independence with his action of participating with the Son of Liberty and delivering illegal papers. Don't know much about a science book. During important events in history, there are always significant people that influence it to happen, and the Revolutionary War is no exception. Even though there's a ton of people involved, I will only discuss about King George III, Samuel Adams, John Adams, and the glorious George Washington himself. I will note their role in the book and tell you how they are significant. Let's start with the person who caused the whole rebellion, King George III. In Johnny Tremain, it quotes, King George was in a fury over the dilatory cautious behavior of his general. Rebellion has not been put down as he has ordered, and every day it was growing stronger. His Majesty has expressed order of such militia companies to disband. This quote expressed that King George was angry how the colonists has rebelled him against the tax acts that he had put on the colonies. It emphasized that he was the one responsible for the 13 colonies' rebellion against him. In My Brother Sam is Dead, it quotes, as a subject of His Majesty, George III, should you question his way? Answer me this, Sam. Do you really think that you know better than the king and those learned men in the parliament? This quote expressed that the tax the king and the parliament made on the colony were viewed differently. The loyalist was fine with it, but the patriot wasn't and is willing to start a rebellion and war against Great Britain. It also proved how King George III is responsible for the cause of the American Revolution. Now it's time to move on to one of the patriot leader and son of liberty, Samuel Adams. In Johnny Tremain, it quotes, "Riding this wild storm was Sam Adams and his trusty henchmen, directing it, building up the anger until, although the matter was not publicly mentioned, they would all see the only thing left for them to do was to destroy the tea." This quote expressed that Sam Adams and a group of Sons of Liberty were planning on dumping tea in Boston Harbor to rebel against the king for the Tea Act. This action will cause anger to build up against the colonists and the king. In My Brother Sam is Dead, it quotes, "The damn lobster bat marched out of Boston yesterday. They were looking for Mr. Adams and Mr. Hancock, and they marched to Lexington." This quote showed that Samuel Adams and John Hancock caused too much rebellion and the king ordered his army to execute them. The lobster bat march to Lexington hints the fact that the Revolutionary War is about to begin, since the first battle was the Battle of Lexington. Now we move on to another patriot leader and the future second president of the United States, John Adams. In Johnny Tremain, it quotes, "And you, John Adams, you have built a very nice little law practice, stealing away my client, I notice." This quote expressed how John Adams was an active patriot who would lead people to start a rebellion against the king. In My Brother Sam is Dead, it quotes, "We have had these things before. That vicious nonsense of those madmen dressing up like Indians and throwing tea into the Boston Harbor. As if wetting a few hundredweight of tea would stop the mightiest army on the face of earth." This quote shows that John Adams was an active patriot and set up the Sons of Liberty to throw the tea into the Boston Harbor and start a rebellion against the King's Tea Act. Last but not least, we have George Washington, the commander-in-chief during the American Revolution. In Johnny Tremain, it quotes, "But he knew the old major wouldn't stop. He had to get his men onto Cambridge and the siege of Boston." This quote expressed that George Washington was chosen as the commander-in-chief in the American Revolution, and he's fighting the British for independence. In My Brother Sam is Dead, it quotes, "You cannot buy very much with the commissary notes. A lot of people won't take them, unless they are strong patriot and felt that they ought to in order to show faith in George Washington's and the rebel government." This quote expressed how George Washington and his army is fighting against the British for the American independence. Don't know much about the French I took. Now that we have discussed the important people involved in the American Revolution, it's time to talk about the things, quote, group, and thinkings that's involved in the revolutionary era. For each concept, I'll give you an example from each book to tell you more about it and its involvement to the Revolutionary War. A. Propaganda. Sometimes father brought some Riverton Gazette from Verplank. It was a Tory paper and he wasn't supposed to have it. It was illegal, so he kept it hidden. Sedition. Incitement to rebellion. Why, if it isn't that damn Boston Observer. If I were Gage, I would hate that printer of it, and this young imp as well. B. Taxation without representation. Who isn't free? Aren't we free? The whole argument is over a few taxes that hardly amount to anything for most people. The Whig declaring that taxation without representation is tyranny. C. Boycott. The whole argument is over a few taxes that hardly amount to anything for most people. He is sly. When merchants agreed not to import British goods until the Stamp Act was repealed. D. son of liberty. What business is it of yours? Father said. I was hoping Father wouldn't argue with the men. It scares me. Government business, the cowboy said. Outside, Johnny could hear the shouting, yelling, whistles, and the running of feet. With the coming of night, the Son of Liberty were aboard, taking up Mr. Adams' placard. Daughter of Liberty. The whole argument is over a few taxes that hardly amount to anything to most people. If there were a daughter of liberty, I would be one. You ask Sam Adam about me. I've been helping him secretly for years. Unalienable rights. You don't understand, Father. You just don't understand. If they won't let us be free, we have to fight. Why should they get rich off our taxes back in England? They are 3,000 miles away. How can they make law for us? You are right, you tall, dark boy. For even as we shoot down British soldiers, we are fighting for rights such as they will be enjoying a few hundred years from now. Militia. Is the militia going to stop them? He scowled. There aren't enough patriots in Reading to stop a pair of cows from going through. Already, on every village stream throughout New England, men and boys were drawing in defiance of the king's order. Lobsterbacks. Well, the beginning was when the lobsterbacks. By that, I suppose you mean the soldier of your king, Father said. He was holding on to his temper. He yawned and settled back to think of those lobsters, with eyes like men's, long lashes, tears on their lashes. Acts of Parliament. Answer me this, Sam. Do you really think better than the king and those learned men in Parliament? He's sly. When merchants agreed not to import British goods until the Stamp Act was repealed. Committee of Correspondence. I dashed out outside to see a horseman come out of the rise of the road from the direction of Danbury. He was dressed in ordinary clothes, and I guessed he was a rebel messenger. Only Paul Revere showed no sign of the hard physical strain he has put under all night before. No long after dawn, he had started on horseback for New York and Philadelphia with an account for the Tea Party. Civic virtue. Oh, Sam, Mr. Beach said. I think you will find that royalty is a virtue everywhere. Already on every village stream throughout New England, men and boys were drilling in defiance of the king's order. Civic duty. The whole argument is over a few taxes that hardly amounts to anything for most people. Already on every village stream throughout New England, men and boys were drilling in defiance of the king's order. The last two concepts is pretty long, so I will summarize each one in a list form with explanation and quotations. Evidence of how and why the Revolution affected the creation of the Article of Confederation. Learn from Great Britain that monarchy is bad. The rebel needed a strong union and government to defeat Great Britain. They saw that centralized government was the best option to serve independent republic. Wanted a government of republicanism and popular sovereignty. They wanted to establish a government operated by Congress to make treaty and alliances, also to maintain armed force and coin money. However, they cannot collect taxes since they don't want to repeat what Great Britain did. The quotation are in My Brother Sam is Dead, You don't understand, Father. You just don't understand. If they won't let us be free, we have to fight. Why should they get rich off our taxes back in England? You are right, you tall, dark boy, for even as we shoot down British soldiers, we are fighting for rights such as they will be enjoying 100 years from now. And evidence of violation of the seventh principle found in the U.S. Constitution, focusing on the philosophy of John Locke, Shockstee, Montesquieu, and William Blackstone. John Locke did not believe people are born slave to their natural kin. Believe every man is born with God-given rights. Argue that people has rights such as life, liberty, and property. Believe that government is there to protect people's rights and people will promote public good, also known as social contract. Believe people have the right to believe in whatever God they wish. Conclusion. He helped establish 5 of the 7 principles, including federalism, limited government, popular sovereignty, individual right, and republicanism. Shockstee Montesquieu saw despotism and argued it can be prevented with the 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, and judicial. The 3 branches were bound by the rule of law. Each branch can check on each other to make sure no branch has more power than the other. Conclusion. He helped establish 2 of the 7 principles in the U.S. Constitution: separation of power and check and balances. William Blackstone. His work set up the legal system, covered the belief of common law such as unalienable rights, right of things, private wrong known as torts, and public wrong for crime and punishment. He set up the judicial government and common laws. Conclusion. He helped establish 3 of the 7 principles in the U.S. Constitution: separation of power, check and balances, and individual rights. The quotation are, for My Brother Sam is Dead, it will be, I'm sure, a great history. Free of British domination, the nation has prospered, and I along with it. Perhaps on some anniversary of the United States, somebody will read this and see what the cost has been. For Johnny Tremain, it is, you are right, you tall, dark boy. For even as we shoot down British soldiers, we are fighting for rights such as they will be enjoying 100 years from now. In the end, My Brother Sam is Dead and Johnny Tremain are 2 historical fiction books that cover the event during the Revolutionary era, with historical events and figures that are significant to the plot. That's the end of my project, so if you see this video before the project is due, I guess you can just ace it without reading the 2 books or doing any researches.